Welcome to the Tech Ed Podcast, where we visit with leaders who are shaping, innovating, and disrupting technical education. People who are not afraid to think differently, not afraid to try something new, all with the goal of securing the American dream for the next generation of STEM and workforce talent. Great to be back with another episode of the Tech Ed Podcast. I am your host, Matt Kirkner, and today we are talking innovation in the world of transportation. How will the vehicles that move people and product across our nation and around the globe evolve in the coming years? When we hear the term telematics in transportation, let's find out what that means. We'll also explore emerging manufacturing technologies like additive manufacturing and collaborative robotics, and how these technologies are being put to work in advanced manufacturing. As always, we will hit on how educators should adapt their programs to accommodate all of this innovation. And finally, we'll explore current disruptions to the global supply chain with someone who is navigating such challenges day in and day out. Our guest is a member of the executive leadership team at engine filtration and power generation behemoth Cummins Incorporated. Cummins was a significant customer of my last manufacturing company, so I know firsthand this global giant's commitment to ethical business practices and to growth. 14 consecutive years on Ethisphere's World's Most Ethical Companies list, 24th on Newsweek's list of America's Most Responsible Companies, $19.8 billion in annual revenue, and 58,000 employees worldwide. Today, we welcome this company's Vice President of Global Supply Chain, Mr. Peter Anderson. Peter, thank you so much for joining us on the Tech Ed Podcast.
Thanks, Matt.
Now, Peter, when I think of Cummins, I think about large internal combustion engines. As we look to electrification and fuel cell technology in the future, tell our audience how Cummins is evolving its product strategy around these new technologies.
A great question. And as you'd imagine, we're doing an awful lot in this space. Our customers need the right vehicles and equipment to do their work today and in the future. The solutions must be reliable, efficient, operationally flexible, and sustainable to meet evolving demands. They also need these solutions to be affordable so they can do the work that helps power the economy, make their payroll, and continue to create jobs. We have embarked on our strategy for reducing the greenhouse gas impact of our products, which we call Cummins Path to Zero Emissions. Our path to zero will get us the biggest reduction in emissions in the fastest way for the lowest cost. Innovation is key to the path, and the path is almost as important as the destination. We must capture benefits that we can from all technologies, including internal combustion, natural gas, hybrid, range-extended electric vehicles, battery electric vehicles, and hydrogen as we work towards the goal. Switching to renewable diesel and other low-carbon fuels can further build upon these benefits and provide real carbon reductions. Innovation in internal combustion engines with mild hybridization and low-carbon fuels can reduce emissions to improve air quality today. Natural gas engines also offer performance and reliability while offering near-zero emissions. As these technologies improve, range-extended electric vehicles can make a dramatic improvement in well-to-wheel CO2 emissions while offering customers flexibility and resilience. For zero tailpipe emissions, battery electric and hydrogen fuel cell powered vehicles will work in tandem. Batteries are well suited for light duty, last mile delivery and urban applications, whereas hydrogen fuel cells as a power dense option for applications like long haul trucking, rail mining and marine. And we have applications in the market today that are using fuel cells in all of those areas.
Myriad innovation and myriad new technologies in the world of transportation. How exciting is that? Now, I have to mention, Peter, I met your CEO, Tom Linebarger, a few years ago. And not too long ago, I asked him a question that we were directing at individuals in the world of education. And we said, what emerging technologies should students be learning as they're going through their educational pathway? One of the technologies that Mr. Linebarger pointed to was telematics. For those in our audience who may not be familiar with this term, what is telematics and how is it changing transportation?
Another great question, Matt. It's one of those things that's a combination of telecommunications and informatics, something that's really misunderstood in many instances. In the industries in which Cummins works, it refers to telecommunication systems that transmit, receive, store, and process telemetry data from commercial vehicles, or from power generation engines sat on a customer site as a backup generator. Telemetry data includes things like GPS location, operational information like acceleration, speed, braking, fuel consumption, fault codes, and anything else that we can derive from a powertrain or from the engine at that particular time. Today, telematics allows fleet managers and managers of operations unprecedented access to data regarding the health of their equipment and productivity of their operations. Gathering a large amount of telematics data allows Cummins data scientists to write algorithms that predict what will happen when certain conditions arise in the field. It allows our software teams to prescribe actions that enhance productivity or improve the efficiency of service events, saving customers time and money. It also helps us understand how customers operate their Cummins equipment and how to engineer and manufacture better products in the future. And to close out on it, one big area it can help with is actually give the fleet operators the opportunity to help coach drivers and train them differently real time as they are seeing how a vehicle is being operated out in the field. So lots of opportunity with telematics.
And who would have guessed, maybe 10 or 15 years ago in a conversation about transportation that we'd be using words like data and algorithms and using that type of technology to, as you put it, help coach drivers in the field as they're doing their job, transporting goods, transporting people all over the United States, all over the globe. Just fascinating new technologies in the world of transportation, but new technology isn't limited to the world of transportation, is it, Peter? I mentioned in the introduction that you're the Vice President of Global Supply Chain. I left off the and manufacturing part of your title, but we know that's a key part of what you do as well. You and I are both manufacturing people. Be curious, as you look at manufacturing operations at Cummins, what new technologies are you using in your facility, particularly in the field of additive manufacturing?
Really exciting times in Cummins looking at additive manufacturing. We have an adage where we talk about additive manufacturing allows you to design in an unconstrained fashion. How many manufacturing people would love to have an unconstrained design and not have to worry about all of the tooling and the issues around actually trying to manufacture what your engineers design? So let me talk a little bit about what Cummins has been doing. And we've been looking with both our engineering and our manufacturing teams around using additive for a number of years. We've been using polymer additive, that's plastic and resins. We've used those for several applications in our business, not limited to for creation of tooling. The rollers we use to pleat our filters with is a great example. We use it for molds, for housings and other applications. And we've used it in many instances across the manufacturing plants to improve efficiency, for fixtures, for fittings, for health and safety, ergonomics. It really has opened up a new way of being able to create what we need at that point in time. And I shouldn't forget, we've used polymer to create functional prototypes. We're also continuing to make great progress across low volume metal printing in many different types of metals, not just what we would think of normally. We've done an awful lot of things in stainless steel and what I would call more exotic type of materials. These technologies include a number of additive concept laser machines that we've acquired from GE Additive. This is a process that uses lasers to melt ultra-thin layers of metal powder to build a three-dimensional object generated from a computer-aided design CAD file. Well, it's actually a little bit more intense than that because we have the ability to actually do an X-ray of a part to start with, which then generates the computer-aided design file, which allows us to 3D print it. So it really is a very integrated process. Cummins also leverages sand printing technologies at our center in San Luis Potosí to make molds for certain components. Something around castings that's actually been very difficult in the past, very cost prohibitive. We now have a way of actually producing those casting molds and being able to do much more smaller runs with our casting and foundry suppliers. The cost and cycle times of the machines make them well suited for producing our parts, especially for aftermarket and those needed in low volume. Since selling the first metal 3D printed part in 2019, Cummins is approved over 20 part numbers and shipped over 350 parts using our suite of low-volume additive technologies. But that's not the most exciting part, Matt. The most exciting part is something we embarked upon in April 2019, when Cummins announced its investment in high-speed binder jet technology and our partnership with GE to be on the front lines of developing this technology. It really is exciting. Cummins currently has 2 second-generation binder jet printers. This is a technology where a print head moves across a bed of powdered metal and selectively deposits a liquid binding agent at the shape of the part cross-section, bonding these areas together to form a solid part 1 layer at a time. Depending on the complexity of the part, the technology can print 60 to 100 times faster than the laser-based printing processes, allowing high-volume automotive-type production with this technology. In late April this year, we announced we're in the process of finalizing our first production part, which is a Cummins Emission Solutions lance tip adapter used in high horsepower engines. It really is a critical emissions component in Cummins engines because it atomizes and injects diesel exhaust fluid into the engine exhaust stream to reduce the amount of nitrogen oxides emitted from Cummins engine systems. In addition to actively working to design and print additional concept parts, Cummins and GE Additive are actively partnering to develop third-generation binder jet technology, which will support an industrialized solution with even higher throughput, improved quality, and even lower cost than we're achieving today, which is significant.
So often we hear from people asking, when is 3D printing, when is additive manufacturing going to come to the world of production parts and not just, and I use that in quote marks, not just work holding and fixtures and end of arm tools. And it sounds like the answer to that question at Cummins is now. I loved your use of the term unconstrained design, because that exactly is what 3D printing and additive allows our engineers and others in our plants to do. Speaking of unconstrained environments, I know one of the constraints historically to the use of robotics in a manufacturing plant is the need in many cases to have a robot working closely with a person in the production of manufactured parts. And so the advent of collaborative robotics, where individuals can work hand in hand very closely with robots, is certainly also revolutionizing the world of manufacturing. Tell us about how Cummins is using collaborative robotics in your manufacturing processes.
No, I'd be happy to. And this is probably one of the most exciting things that we've undertaken in our manufacturing team over the last 15 months. And we have COVID to thank for the acceleration of how we've been thinking about the use of collaborative robotics. But let's start out by defining what we mean by collaborative robotics for your listeners. In its simplest terms, a collaborative robot or cobot is a robot intended to physically interact with humans in a shared workspace. Most of these robots aren't very big, around 20 to 35 inches in reach, and they have sensors that detect human motion. So they will stop when someone comes too close. So they're safe and also very easy and quick to program. In fact, most of the programming for our cobots is actually being done by operators on site that were manually operating in that machine environment previously. This in contrast with other robots, which are very expensive, designed to operate autonomously or with limited guidance inside of protected cages, which is what most industrial robots were up until the decade of the 2010s. We have around a dozen or more ways we use cobots at Cummins, and it varies by site and application. Some examples include assembly, where we're placing parts onto an engine during the assembly process. Cleaning, where we're blowing or vacuum out particles out of the nooks and crannies during the assembly process. Barcode scanning as products move down the line. Inspection, performing basic quality control checks using scanners and other measurement techniques of products at various stages of the build process. We could talk for the rest of the afternoon around the other applications we use them in. In 2020, we initiated a program to rapidly deploy over 70 cobots across our manufacturing network in response to the pandemic. This helped us deploy social distancing and continue to increase safety for our employees, reducing the safety risk. We currently have 122 cobots deployed at 23 sites across the globe. And we're actively working to deploy another 136 cobots this year. So by the end of this year, we will have over 250 cobots in place.
I can tell from that answer, Peter, that you share my fascination with automation. You share my fascination with robotics. And I can also tell you, much like you probably, I spend a lot of time with audiences talking about advancements in manufacturing technology, advanced manufacturing, IIoT, Industry 4.0 level technologies. And one of the questions that invariably comes up is what is going to happen to all the people when we deploy all these robots? Now, I know a company like Cummins doesn't make itself onto the list of the world's most ethical companies without a keen concern for the people who work in your organization. So how do you respond to that claim that some people make that robots will replace humans in our workforce?
Well, at Cummins, we have a very clear view on it. The goal of cobots is not to replace humans. Just 2 weeks ago, I was at one of our sites here in Columbus, Indiana, and I was talking to the operatives where we've installed over 15 cobots this year. And they were all saying how amazing it was that they now have the ability to actually focus on things that are better for them and not as mundane. And there was one lady that stood there and said she was so proud and so pleased that she was now able to operate and program the cobot. And this is somebody who previously was working on the line and moving components from one place to another. And today, she is now probing our cobots for us. Cobots provide several benefits. When compared to traditional robots, they take up less space, cost less, and offer a quicker return on investment. They're quite easy to install, program, and maintain. They can also greatly enhance productivity and efficiency in our operations. And they also help us improve overall product quality due to their precision. Most importantly, they're designed to keep our employees' health and safety. Their power and speed are both limited to levels that are suitable for human contact during collaboration. At the end of the day, cobots can take over the task, allow our employees to focus on work that requires strategic thinking, problem solving, and real-time decision-making skills. That's where we really need them. This will become even more important as we launch our automation strategy over the coming years. One of the employees in that plant, as I was leaving, said to me, "This is amazing. How can we make cobots go faster? Because if we can do that, then we can make the line go faster and we make Cummins an even better place to be," which just made me smile, Matt, as I was walking out of the plant.
Well, that's just an absolutely perfect example, Peter, of how cobots and robots and automation in general can improve the lives of the people working in our plant. You know, it's interesting, even in this day and age of automation and advancing manufacturing technology, manufacturers are still starving for skilled people. And the fact that you had the lady that you described in your plant who now knows how to operate and program a collaborative robot is just a perfect example of the importance of upskilling our workforce toward these advancing technologies. So we've been talking quite a bit this morning about emerging technologies in manufacturing. I know you spend a lot of time in the world of education as well. What needs to be done in your mind, Peter, to ensure that our graduates and our incumbent workers have the right skills for these ever-evolving technologies?
So first and foremost, we need to be actively defining the skills that our employees will need in the future. And it's a very different set of skills than today. To do this, we have an active project right now to define, prioritize, and execute our manufacturing and warehousing automation strategy, with the goal of determining which plant and warehouse production operations and production support processes can be automated to deliver the best value to Cummins and to our employees. This includes determining how to use digital tools and processes to design our plants and production processes, as well as how to leverage analytics and AI to diagnose and fix failures even sooner, perhaps even before they occur. From there, we will develop a robust playbook. That playbook will be used to launch automation at our sites and create training opportunities for our employees based on the skills necessary to execute on our new automation strategy. This may also mean recruiting new employees with the right skills, particularly in deep skill areas. Ultimately, this will mean different things for different roles. Shop floor employees need to be able to use electronic means for communication. They need to be comfortable reading, interpreting, and responding to process directions from the computers and cobots. For example, Microsoft Teams for shop floor communications, MES operator schemes for process control, SPS data collection systems may still require operator interaction in the future. As you see tools like augmented or virtual reality making their way to shop floor, there'll be a learning curve for employees and a level of comfort needed to use them successfully. Data is ubiquitous. No matter what your function, ensuring we have the means to collect the right data points, ensuring they're accurate, and building them into a model combined with other data from other sources is going to be critical to all of our successes. We're building data governance councils, something most people never even thought about before, which will require a great deal of change management. If we're really going to operate successfully in a digital world, it is necessary and a new skill set for all of our employees.
That's a really interesting answer, Peter. As you talk about technologies like augmented reality and virtual reality, listening to you discuss analytics, launching automation in the plants, electronic communication, and really at the heart of all of that, and where you started your answer, was defining the skills that are important in these emerging technologies. And we couldn't agree more here at the Tech Ed Podcast. Now, when we think about defining skills, it's not just in manufacturing or on the manufacturing floor, correct? Your expertise in part is in supply chain. The global supply chain is certainly not what it was 10 or even 5 years ago. As you look at education, not just for manufacturing, but more specifically for the entire supply chain, how does education need to update its curriculum to reflect these changes?
It really is an important element, Matt. Many supply chain degrees stayed, I guess, very similar for many years. But as you say, the last 5 to 10 years have seen a massive change because many of the degrees have actually now been co-developed with many organizations that are telling colleges and universities what we need rather than just taking what they think we need. So the foundations of most supply chain degree programs, specifically at the master's degree level, are generally 90% there now in terms of what a solid foundational degree program should offer, where most programs could afford to be updated in a few areas. First, ensuring they're building skills learning into their program around advanced technologies, automation, programming, design software, prognostics, and one that I talk to every student about when I get the chance, data analytics. Having the ability to look at data and visualize data is going to be key for every supply chain professional. Secondly, ensuring their programs have significant real-world experiences incorporated in the form of internships, co-ops, on-the-job learning. Nothing can replace doing these things in real life for real customers. And we see a huge difference when we hire former Cummins interns or co-ops. They have a different skill level when they come back to us. And lastly, industry certificates or advanced degree options in analytics, automation are extremely helpful, especially for those who want or need to gain advanced skills in a certain area.
So those relationships with private employers, with educators working together to define competencies in every program, certainly a huge part of the focus that Cummins has in the world of education. And when you and I got together last, Peter, we talked quite a bit about your involvement in advocating for technical education, advocating for advanced manufacturing and supply chain education. You've been involved in many of the projects, but one that sticks out to me is your involvement at Indiana University, Purdue University, Columbus. What can you tell us about these innovations that are taking place there?
Yeah, Matt, it's something I'm really proud about. I mean, I love the work that I do with other colleges and universities at Tennessee, at Corning, especially with Howard, but I'm more proud of what I do in our local community here. And I was approached by IUPUC, Indiana University, Purdue University here in Columbus, to come in and talk to them and help them create a focus on their supply chain management concentration within the Bachelor of Science in Business degree program at IUPUC. It's the newest program they have within their business program, and it's really meant to get more business majors interested in careers in supply chain. And we need them. We need more, and there are more and more roles available as people recognize the importance of supply chain to companies. And the pandemic has really created a surge for supply chain skilled individuals. My involvement at IUPUC was to ensure the appropriate foundation and the course topics met the current environment that we need. The concentrations within the program are Lean Six Sigma, supply chain management, operations processes, logistics and distribution, supply chain planning, analytics, and a number of special topics in supply chain management. I spent a good majority of time helping identify the major topics for the special topics classes, which focus on special skills needed particularly newer skills or skills that are becoming more important in today's supply chain. These include topics like supply development, value analysis and value engineering, supply and negotiations, and advanced technologies like additive manufacturing. For the last 15 months, courses have been taught in a hybrid or fully online capacity, but the feedback from the lecturers and the students has been really positive. We reached out to the head of the division of business at IUPUC before this interview, and he said many students are changing their concentration to supply chain management. That's music to my ears. Graduates of the program will certainly have many employment opportunities upon graduation from the program and will add vitality to the Columbus area and provide benefits not only to Cummins, but the broader community. IUPUC is hopeful it will become the largest concentration in the business program within 3 years. What more can you ask for?
I don't know that you can ask for anything more. That, as you suggest, is music to Peter Anderson's ears. That is the students choosing supply chain management as a career pathway through his influence and through the great efforts of what's happening at IUPUC. It's just a great example of how we get young people on the right career pathway. And there are many ways to do this. Another one that I know you're keenly interested in is the pathway of apprenticeship. And apprenticeship has been a major and a popular topic of discussion, certainly of late. The National Apprenticeship Act of 2021 is just one way that the United States is looking to reinvigorate apprenticeships here in the States. Now, you've had the unique opportunity to experience the European model of apprenticeship firsthand, I might add. What can the U.S. learn, in your opinion, Peter, about apprenticeships from the rest of the world?
A lot, but let me expand a little bit further on that, Matt. I mean, I spent 5 years in an apprenticeship program in the UK, and it was probably the best thing that ever happened to me. Because when I left school at 16, I really didn't know what I wanted to do, and it gave me a unique insight into different types of things that I could apply my skills to. First, let me talk about the programs in Europe. Apprenticeship programs are seen and treated more as educational destinations in Europe. And what I mean by that is that people view these programs as alternatives to a university degree. However, many people who do an apprenticeship then subsequently go on to do a university degree. If you just do the apprenticeship, many apprentices leave with the equivalent of a college degree. So a very different way of looking at it from the US. In Germany, for instance, it's even more true in that many people have to go through an apprenticeship program if they want to go into more of the supply chain type roles in the future. Apprenticeships across the globe, including here in the US, teach you valuable and highly technical skills that lead to rewarding careers. The difference sometimes is mindset. We want apprenticeships to be just as valuable and important to our workforce and economy as collegiate programs. To some degree, they can be even more valuable because companies like Cummins can tailor their future educational programs after they have graduated from their apprenticeship. Secondly, there's something to be learned in terms of the program structure in other regions. Many apprenticeship programs in Europe treat their first year of the program as an academic year, with year 2 spent working hands-on in the environment of their chosen path. In fact, some programs even allow you to do multiple options in year 2 and not even specialize until year 3, 4, or 5. This approach allows the candidate the academic and hands-on experience early on in the first couple of years so they can learn if it's the right path for them. If it isn't, they can generally change their path and it's not a wasted period of time. Many programs in the States force you to choose a track straight away, where you spend multiple years working and advancing towards that particular skill. If you choose, you may want to do something different a year or 2 in. Many people see it as being too late. I think that flexibility that we have in the European models is very different. Where we need to be focused at the end of the day is the appropriate program to upskill our workforce and ensure they're learning the skills needed to be successful working in the plant or supply chain of the future. To do this, we need to understand the current workforce capabilities and use that to build the national apprenticeship program model. Apprentices have as big a role to play in our organization as graduates.
I love your use of the word mindset. We really do, in many ways, have to change our mindset around apprenticeships here in the United States. I had opportunity a couple of short weeks ago to spend some time with the individual who leads the apprenticeship program in the state of Wisconsin. What he told me, Peter, is you would not believe the number of apprentices who find their way to entrepreneurial career pathways. And I think a lot of times we think of an apprenticeship, as you suggest, as a one-way street to a very specific career. And in this day and age, first of all, that's probably not reasonable to believe that we can have a career for 50, 60 years or however long we think we may spend in the same career. But certainly looking at apprenticeships as a pathway to a huge variety of great career opportunities. Peter, I want to now talk a little bit more about that first part of your title, the supply chain part of your title. And supply chain in this day and age is something that is on the tips of the tongue of just about everyone as we look at the challenges that the inefficiencies right now, or maybe some of the bottlenecks in the global supply chain are creating for life across the United States and across the globe. And I'm curious, Peter, when you look at the last year or so for Cummins, what disruptions did you see in your supply chain with the events over the last year?
I think I've lost more hair in the last year, Matt, than I probably did in the previous 30. So, I mean, over the course of 2020, we saw a very large quarter-over-quarter drop in demand, followed by a significant increase in demand starting in quarter three. This meant an increase in supply constraints for a record number of parts, significant transportation delays in almost every area, water, air, rail, record high premium freight constraints associated with shutting down and restarting plants. I could go on and on and on. I don't think I've ever faced anything like it in the whole of my career. The many layers or tiers of supply chains in this type of market make agility and responsiveness to changes in demand very challenging. The challenges for me didn't necessarily happen with my tier 1 suppliers. It could be with tier 3 or tier 4 suppliers, and that makes it very, very challenging. However, I have to take my hat off to my extraordinary team who stepped up to the challenge and kept us operating through the entire pandemic and associated disruptions. Although this type of event is hopefully a once-in-a-lifetime occurrence, we do see the pace of change in the world is increasing at a rapid pace. And more importantly, we need to be able to predict and respond to that at the same pace. We're focusing our efforts on several things to adapt to this new supply chain paradigm. We're focusing a lot on improved demand analytics, looking at different models to build the most accurate and demand models, and then the ability to disaggregate those to an actionable level within our plants. We're also exploring the telematics that we can talk about to figure out how we can use that data to predict maintenance and parts usage, and actually about placement of inventory. Where do we need to have that inventory within our networks? Fortunately, we'd already started work with a platform called One Network to develop and deploy a visibility layer in our supply chain, and that work paid dividends during the pandemic. We were able to easily look at inventory across our large network and redeploy in ways that typically we would never been able to in the past. For example, we were able to take parts from our warehouses or distribution centers and move them back to manufacturing sites to enable engine builds. Alternatively, we were able to move parts and components that weren't immediately needed from manufacturing plants to fulfill urgent service needs. This in partnership with things that we'd already implemented, like dual sourcing, regional supply chain models, and flexible, efficient networks to be able to respond more quickly to changing demand, really helped us to thrive through the pandemic times.
What a great conversation we're having today with Peter Anderson. Peter, as I look back through my notes on our discussion today, words like data, analytics, cobots, additive manufacturing, telematics, they thread through the entire discussion. All of these technologies and others are ones that many would associate with Industry 4.0 technology. So as we close out our time with you today, I have one last question, and that is on this topic of Industry 4.0. As we look to the future, as we look to evolution in manufacturing technology and supply chain technology, how do you think Industry 4.0 and artificial intelligence affect the global supply chain?
So, Matt, for you and I in manufacturing, Industry 4.0 is our future. It's all about automation, artificial intelligence, prognostics, telematics. It's going to have a significant impact on how you and I work in the future. We talk about it in the future, but it's here today and now. Advanced technologies like cobots, 3D printing, augmented reality, which we haven't spent any time on today, and all of these technologies only enhance our efficiency, product and process quality, health and safety, and ability to innovate and respond quickly to our customer needs. AI and automation will provide reporting capabilities we've only dreamed of in the past and will allow us to make informed decisions. For example, we'll be able to make more accurate and smarter decisions about inventory levels and placements. Where we see an engine failing at, we'll be able to provide that inventory and align it with service levels and service technicians to be able to fix that engine in a particular geographic location. It's providing us with quantitative data about the right levels of inventory to meet business objectives and not just about storing inventory as an insurance policy. Additionally, analytics will give us a more accurate demand forecast, including the use of telematics to predict demand for parts, as I talked about. This leads to optimization of stock and optimization of the locations of that stock, much more so than it has in the past. It means we can build more secure, reliable networks to protect our manufacturing sites, ensuring our plants keep running smoothly, but also ensuring our company is protecting from increased cyber threats. It's giving us an opportunity to invest and build in the skill sets of our most important asset, our people. By providing state-of-the-art tools and ongoing training education to our employees, it's fostering talent and recruiting to ensure our team is highly capable people ready for the future of manufacturing. By setting the right foundation today, we'll all be better able to succeed and adapt as the future changes in much more rapid and unlimited ways. Supply chain truly is the future, Matt.
Peter, I think that last answer actually gave me goosebumps. You started it off by saying Industry 4.0 is our future, and then proceeded to explain exactly how, not just in a textbook fashion, but in a real world fashion, that a company like Cummins Incorporated is putting Industry 4.0 technology to work for the future of your organization. What an incredibly intriguing conversation we have had today with Peter Anderson, talking in real world terms about evolution in the world of manufacturing, evolution in the world of transportation, about ethics in business, about putting people first. And it was so clear, Peter, in every one of your answers, how very important the people of industry are to you and to Cummins. I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your incredibly busy schedule to spend some time with us on the Tech Ed podcast. It was a pleasure having you as a guest.
Matt, it was wonderful to get the opportunity to talk some of the great things that we're doing with our team and our people within Cummins. And thank you. It was wonderful to spend time talking to you this afternoon.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of the Tech Ed Podcast. If you haven't already, subscribe, leave a review, and if you liked this episode, share it with a friend. New episodes launch every Tuesday, so listen in next week.